Hello and welcome to Be in the Spotlight. And my guest this month is Helen Bowman. And Helen, if you would like to introduce yourself to us and tell us a little bit about your background and what you do.
Yeah, no problem. Hi, thank you very much for having me on. As you said, I'm Helen Bowman. I am a social media content specialist. I'm based in the northeast of England, a place called Whitley Bay, just outside of Newcastle upon
Oh.
Tyne. I don't know whether you've heard of it. But yes, sunny Whitley Bay. And my background is actually in PR and marketing. So I spent a lot of my employed career, shall we say, in working in PR agencies. It was down in East Anglia, just small agencies. I learned there that I had a bit of a talent for writing, and I kind of fell in love with words and writing and providing people's content. Back then, it was pre-social media, so it was all press releases and articles and
Mm.
web copy and all that kind of thing. When I moved back up home in 2006, I'd always wanted to work for myself. So I started up my business, which is In the Detail.
Mhm.
And in 2006, not a lot of people really understood what a copywriter was.
Mm.
So I would go out networking because, as I say, it was pre-social media,
Mm.
and I'd introduce myself as a copywriter, and then I'd have to spend the next 10 minutes explaining what a copywriter was and what I
Mm.
did and all that kind
Mm.
of thing. So thankfully, times have moved on, and just about everybody understands that side of things. But yeah, recently in the recent past, sort of in the last 4 years or so, I've found myself, while I do still do blogs and web copy and articles and all that kind of thing, I've found that 90% of the work that I do for my clients is social media content because that's what they
Mm.
need the support with. And
Mm.
so I've embraced it in the past year or so. And I actually started calling myself a social media specialist
Good.
rather than a copywriter because it is what I spend my time doing. It's my happy place. I really enjoy that side of things. So here I am talking
Uh,
about social media a lot. So
which is so interesting, and I love that because my journey to social media was completely different to
right.
yours. Yeah, mine was that I had to start teaching it to people. So in order to teach it, you have to know how to use it, and that
Yes.
was my that was my journey into using social media. And then it was okay. So okay, I had to have a purpose to be on it. So I also at that time made the transition from just teaching Microsoft Office to teaching digital skills. And they always say you don't know what you don't know until you realize you don't know it.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
and that was when my real journey began. And it's also the building the confidence to go out and try and do things and to actually be online, to actually create content, to
Yeah,
actually, use it all. So I started using the social media platforms as a research tool to develop my own digital skills to find out what I know and didn't know. And boy, did I realize what I didn't know.
there's an awful lot to
There
learn.
was an awful lot. So then obviously get in the fear of, oh my God, for failure because you don't know what all this stuff is. So
Mhm.
then actually harnessing it to actually building my own skills, but also using it as a real powerful research tool, and then
Absolutely.
empowering the learners to that I work with in the classroom on how to use it to build their confidence and overcome their fear of technology. And little would you know that it would actually lead to a chat show and everything else that I'm doing these
Nice.
days. So quite an interesting journey. So what I want to sort of say, so you started, as you said, as the copywriter and the coach. What was it that you think? I know you specialised in social media. What was it about social media that you think, that resonated, that you felt that was where people really needed more than any other area?
I think with just in the past few years, social media has become much more important to businesses. I think when it first came about, it was very much, a photo dump place, talk about
Mm.
what you're having for your lunch, and
Mm.
particularly Instagram. And
Yeah.
it wasn't really seen massively as a good platform for business, for growing your business, for being on there as a business. Um, but that's evolved an awful lot now, and I just think that a lot of small. So I work mainly with businesses like me, so solopreneurs, if you
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
sole traders, however
Yeah.
you want to call us.
Yeah.
Um, I work with mainly people who don't have a marketing team, don't have
Yeah.
a board of directors
Yeah.
or a team of any kind.
Yeah.
And it is such a valuable tool for getting out there in front of people. Like,
Yeah.
as I say, when I first started my business, I had to network like a demon. I
Yeah.
was checking out my card like a dealer at Vegas, because
Yeah.
really that was the only time I was
Yeah.
able to tell people, yes, I
Yeah.
had a website, but
Yeah.
unless people know to look
Yeah.
for you,
Yeah.
I wasn't an SEO expert or anything like that, so I
No.
had to get out there and talk to people.
Yeah.
So when social media started to be a little bit more businessy,
Yeah.
and other businesses were on social media, that was when I realized, and I think a lot of other small businesses realize, that actually it's free for now. We don't know
Yeah.
how long it's going to be free for, but
Yeah.
organically it's
Yeah.
free.
Yeah.
And it's just such a valuable tool for getting in
Yeah.
front of more people.
Yeah.
It's like standing on a massive stage in front of thousands of
It,
people.
it, it, it,
You don't get the chance to do that, do you?
no,
So
exactly. Exactly.
um,
Yeah.
so when when people realize that, and actually, I started realizing I was enjoying doing my own social media, and I just have a brain that kind of works in a way that maybe throws up slightly different ways of talking about yourself, and just keeping things fresh, and
Mm.
repeating the same message but in a different way. And I just found that that was something that people were maybe lacking, and they needed the support. So
Yeah.
yeah, it kind of flourished from there, really.
That's great. And you've just mentioned a couple of things there that I just want to pick up on that I've seen from my own following on. That, yeah, they always say you needed to have a website. It seems to be now that it's, yes, if you want to have something that you can call your own because you don't know what's going to happen to social media.
Mhm,
But
mhm,
ultimately, social media is the place to network and chat with your people, and that is your audience now. It's
mhm.
not about, doing all these networking where you have to go and attend and pay for all this and give, as you say, give out business cards, and
Yeah.
you don't look at it's actually having a purpose for being on there, and whatever the purpose that you're offering, or what the reasons for being on there, that's where you're engaging with your audience now
Mhm.
over what it is. And it's obviously, as you we've not said, but you'll hear these expressions about getting to know, like, and trust you, so
Yes.
people get to know you. And I think the other thing that I've seen a lot of now is these public speaking events that, get in front of an audience and do the public speaking. Um, and I love the way you said about now is your stage. That's my feelings, that your stage is your audience. It's your virtual audience.
Mhm.
It's the people in the classroom. You don't need to be paying loads of money to be out on some big platform speaking to the world if you don't want to, because not everybody
No.
is that way inclined. No, not everybody wants to be standing on the stage in front of 1,000 people
Yeah.
talking about their life story. But you can do your pitch and your presentations from your home,
Yeah.
from small, small events, and sometimes those are more meaningful because you'll write people there in front of you because you've been building the relationships, and that's, to me, is far more important. So
Absolutely.
so I would, which actually leads into a little question I've got of, what would you say was the biggest myth about showing up online that people have had to listen to, that you would say you agree with or say to ignore?
I would say linking it to audiences, that oh, you have to have a huge audience to be successful on social media. Well, you don't. I don't have a massive audience, but I still get sales from social media. I think it's more important to have the right audience rather than huge, influencer style numbers.
Yeah.
Yes, it's nice to have numbers, because as with a lot of things in life, it is a bit of a numbers game sometimes.
Mhm.
So the more audience you've got, the more chance you've got of finding the people
Mm.
who are going to buy off you. But if you are a little bit more strategic about building your audience in the first place,
Yeah.
so you are not just collecting people as you go
Yeah.
along, but you
Yeah.
are finding the people who you think will benefit, who
Yeah.
who are your ideal client, and you gather those close to you, build a relationship, get them to know, like, and trust you, as you say.
Yeah.
Then you've got a much more curated audience, if you like. So you've got a warmer audience. They are people who you definitely know are interested in what you are offering, and therefore when you do put an offer out, you're more likely to have more people respond to you than just have, 50,000 people on your Instagram who actually don't care about you and just scroll past you all the time.
Yeah.
Building an audience takes a lot of effort. I'm not going to,
No.
lie about that. It does. It takes a lot of effort. And if you put all your effort into literally just gathering whoever is passing,
Mm.
then they're not going to be the right people for you. So having a smaller, more curated audience who are interested in what you are talking about is going to be always going to be much more valuable. So I would say, you're not successful unless you go viral. Going viral is not all it's cracked up to be. It can bring with it a lot of
Yeah.
issues and
Yeah.
trolling and just stress.
Yeah.
So for me, it's more about connecting with the right audience rather than
Yeah.
having a huge audience.
Yeah, and that I would go along with you as well. It's quality over quantity,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
and you want your buyers in your audience, not your leads. So again, being strategic with who it is. And I think we've all probably made the mistakes of people sending you friend requests and connection requests and following you, and to begin with, you accept it without really realizing,
Yeah.
because you think, oh, they're interested in me, and then you suddenly start realizing a couple of DMs in that they aren't actually interested
No,
in you. They're
no,
actually in what they can sell to you rather than
absolutely. They go
what you
hard
can
on the
offer
sales straight
what you
away.
can offer them. So they either send you the friend request or connection request or whatever, and then don't even acknowledge you after they've sent you the message, or they hit you with the sales pitch straight away.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I'm
so
not sure what's worse.
I don't know. So yeah, I so when you look at your as I said before, when I started, I was very naive in what I was doing, and I was doing it for the research and learning more to teach what I was teaching rather than actually building a business. But obviously, building a business and how you approach is a slightly different
Yeah.
way of working, which I've been learning this year myself. So, um, and I would say as well, definitely the content of what you're doing. One of the tips that I've heard is about commenting, like don't just like posts, but
Yeah.
commenting on posts.
Yeah.
But don't just say anything. Actually make sure it's something that's going to add value or agree or whatever.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that was another way of building your visibility in your feed with the commenting, because one of the things I'd got told when I first started was to follow big accounts, engage with them, and then look at what they're doing and do it yourself. And it was your version of what they were doing, admittedly, but it was to me, it was trying to be something that I
Yeah.
wasn't. And I
Yeah.
just, when I started doing that and looking at all the big accounts that were doing what I was saying, it felt totally,
Yeah.
that's not me. That's not how I do. And it actually, I would have actually said it knocked me back quite a bit. I'd stopped doing it, and you had to be in front of camera, and you had to be doing this, and you had to be making all these videos and stuff like that. And I just found it so overwhelming with it all, and trying to do it on top of working and teaching full time as well. I just haven't got the
Yes.
time for doing all that. So I sort of say that as long as you're being consistent and with what you're doing, and it's the right type of thing that you're doing, it's connecting with the audience, then that is far more important than, as you said, Trace, the high viral content and stuff like that. I
Yeah.
think you have to be you, because if you aren't you, people aren't going to know you. So being your authentic self, and to me, building the connections and relationships has been far more important to me than than how many people are following me. And
Yeah.
oh yeah, engaging in the content's good. At least they're reading it. So, but
Absolutely. Yeah.
but it was going. So I wanted to sort of talk a little bit about the platforms now, because I'm one of these people that I'm on all platforms, and I know that the advice is when you start out, you focus on one platform and build your audience there, and that definitely goes to the same strategy as if you're building an audience of buyers, to focus on one platform to build the relationship with. And as I sort of said, I've done things the reverse way, because I've been on all platforms more or less from day one in order to teach it. But when it came to actually looking at selling and putting on a business on being more strategic, then I had to be more specific, look at, I can't be building audiences on 6 platforms, 5 platforms, whatever. So I think I went with the two that I'd had most engagement and most um, conversations with people on.
Yeah.
So from starting out, I would say that the two that I'm on, one I would say is better than the other.
Right.
So for me, starting out, Facebook was the one that I've been using the longest, but in actual fact was the lowest on connections. LinkedIn was the one that I've got by far the more following and connections and stuff like that. But I would have said that would have been the last to learn as far as building a business goes. So the good thing about uh, Facebook, obviously, is it links with Instagram, and you've got your threads, and you can use your Meta Business Suite and stuff like that. So for starting out, it's quite a good tool to begin with, in my opinion. I know that you are on Instagram and LinkedIn primarily.
Mhm.
What would you say to people starting out? I know you're specializing in Instagram, but what would you say were some of the things that would give to people to start out setting on the platform? And why did you choose Instagram over the other platforms that you're on?
Oh, it's quite simple, really. I just enjoy being on Instagram. I find it quite a happy place.
Mm,
I've seen my audience grow. I've seen my sales grow from
mm,
Instagram, and I think I think when I first started on social media, probably I was that way, the same way round as you. So I found Facebook much more useful for business, and Instagram was just, I would maybe put a picture of my dog or something.
mm,
But there's been huge changes, and I now barely get anything from Facebook. I do still post on Facebook,
mm,
um, but I barely get anything from there. I don't
mm,
have I've got a decent sized audience, but there's very little in the way of engagement, and
mm,
that's probably my bad as well as anybody else,
mm,
because I don't particularly engage on Facebook. I
mm,
use that more sort of personally for my hobbies and
mm,
any communities that I've been a part of for a while and that kind of
mm.
thing. Instagram is just so versatile in terms of, if you're trying to be strategic, which you should be with your social media, rather than throwing spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. If you're trying to be strategic,
Yeah,
all the different post formats and engagement opportunities are much. I just find them much easier and much more engaging, for want of a
yeah,
better word.
yeah,
I just find it a much more kind of positive, um, dynamic place to be
yeah,
for your
yeah,
business. And I know that, and yes, a lot of individuals use Instagram, but there are also so many businesses on Instagram now. And
mm,
I was trying to find the statistics earlier, something around, that I think it was something ridiculous, like 94% of the UK adults have, um, don't quote me on that because that might not be quite right, but it's a
don't quote,
huge
don't
it's a
quote. We
huge
won't quote that.
statistic that people have an Instagram account,
Yeah,
and something like 60% of those people follow at least one business
yeah,
on Instagram.
yeah,
I follow tons. It's my primary
yeah,
place. I do
yeah,
follow. I if I
yeah,
rather than going onto Google, if I hear about a business, rather than going onto Google these days, I go
yeah,
onto Instagram to see if
yeah,
they've got a social media presence,
yeah,
because it shows that they are alive
yeah,
and they are
yeah,
trading and they are who
yeah,
they say they are, and you can
yeah,
get to know the
yeah,
humans behind the business if they're using their social
yeah,
media
yeah,
in a way that they should be. And I just find it just a really, really powerful place to build a business,
yeah.
and I'm trying to spread that word, because not everybody sees Instagram as a business growth platform.
No,
More people are these days,
yeah,
but I just love it as a place to grow my business.
yeah. No, I totally actually agree with you because I when I first started out, I didn't think for 1 minute I would be using Instagram,
Mm.
because especially as I haven't got any photos, how can I create
Yes.
video? I haven't got time to be making videos. And I just thought it's not a place that I could create content. And as I said, I started using the platforms to do the research. And
Mm.
then I started seeing all these posts that were involving text and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, well, I could do that. I can
Yeah,
make
yeah.
that type of content. And there was IT type stuff as well. Um, so I thought, well, in that case, but I did, I took like the big high street shops, and I thought, well, let's see what they're doing on the different platforms, and you'll be surprised in what there is out there, even on TikTok, would you believe?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And as I said, when you're using it to teach in the classroom, it's trying to niche down and focus on one thing. I've found very difficult, and I've rebelled against that so many times. But you can see the classroom has got everybody in it from different
Yeah.
backgrounds and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And you need to know what the gardener's going to be able to use social media for, just as much as the jewelry maker, just as much as the herbal, mindful, all the different backgrounds, all that jazz. You need to be able to take what they're doing and help them apply it to them.
Yes.
So, the artists I actually seem to specialize in artists and gardeners as far as some of my
Oh,
some of my stuff goes. But anyway, the gist is that if you don't have a knowledge that covers all the different areas, you can't help those people when you're teaching in the classroom. So I've made it that I do
mhm.
apply what it is that you can learn and do to that. And the same goes when we were actually doing our intro to social media course I've just run recently. The idea was that they were already familiar with the different platforms, so they'd got things set up. So when they joined me, they were they were learning to use it for business for the first time.
Yeah.
Um, and interestingly, they hadn't actually got anything set up because they didn't know how to set it up for business. So taking them through the process of what they knew and how my approach that I've done on multiple occasions that I knew worked, get them to do that and then look at it. So initially we were introduced them to the 6 different platforms to give them a feel for what it was like, but too much overwhelming,
Yeah.
we stick to what they know. And interestingly enough, we went with the Meta suite because that was more focused with what they knew. But out of Facebook and Instagram, only 2 people, I think, actually created the Facebook account. They all went for Instagram, and all of them are actually using Instagram over Facebook for their content. So I've said to them at the moment, don't worry about all of the strategies and everything else at the moment. At
Yeah.
the minute, you just want to get used to using the platform, following posts, commenting on posts, and putting out some posts of your own, but just do it slowly. Just do
Yeah.
something about what it is
Baby
you're doing.
steps.
Yeah,
Hmm.
exact baby steps, who you are, what your offer is, what it is you're doing, and a bit about your product that you're offering. And then you can sort of see what is getting the interest, and then you can build up the skills from that. And I said, and obviously I've got another 10-week course coming up. We will go into a bit more detail, but I can remember that the things that I went in, and I just I got so overloaded with the stuff, the overwhelm. If you've got
Hmm.
all the stuff you've got to do, and even with Facebook, you had to have a Facebook group, you had to have a the business page, you got to do this, you got to do do that. You tried to do
It's a
it all,
lot.
and it's just so overwhelming. So, and then it just leads to this panic posting because I've got to create something, and then I'm what do I post? And I think my originals, I was like looking at Google, what were the most common things of this sort of area, and turning those into posts and putting them out there and things like that. So there must be some easier methods or habits that can be done. So if there are, would you mind sharing with us some of the
Oh, yes.
recommendations, please?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I think in order to be, and I hesitate to use the word strategic because I think that turns a lot of people off and they're just like, oh, I don't like the word. But all I mean by strategic is having having an idea of what you're posting and why and what your end goal is.
Yeah.
So obviously, you can have an overall objective. So, for example, your overall objective might be to drive people to your website or make sales through social media.
Yeah.
You can then have a monthly objective, if you like. So this month, for my personal social media, I'm trying to grow my audience a little bit. Um, and then, next month it'll be all about teaching them, nurturing them, making them understand who I am and what my business does and that kind of thing. And then the month after that, I will be all about selling my services and telling them how they can work with me if that's what they want to do. And so they're kind of my monthly objectives, and then I start again. But then if even for each post having an objective, it makes it much more efficient, much more useful. If then you're not panic posting. So every
Yeah.
single post you put out should have an objective behind it. So whether that's to grow your audience, to teach your audience, to sell to your audience, to show a little bit of the human behind the brand,
Yeah.
so that every single post should have an objective. And I do have a really simple framework which I teach to my clients and I use myself as well, which is called the GLOW framework. So GLOW. So you make your social media glow.
Yeah.
And it stands for G is for growth. So
Yeah.
they are your posts which attract new followers to your account.
Yeah.
L is for love, which is basically where you are making your audience fall in love with you.
Yeah.
So showing who you are as a person, teaching them little sort of hints and tips, and giving stuff away for free, and making sure that they find your account useful. And then O is your offer.
Yeah.
So this is the bit that so many people forget to do.
Mm.
It's kind of sales by any other name,
Yeah. Yeah.
but my approach to sales is very gentle. It's very loving. It's very nurturing. It's not in your face. You
Yeah.
must buy what I sell. It's very, very again, it's nurturing for want
Yeah.
of a better word. It's done in a really nice way. So it's basically telling people how they can work with you if they want to, and outlining why they should work with you, what's
Yeah.
in it for them, and talking about how you can help them and make their life better. And then
Yeah.
the W stands for two things, actually, because I couldn't decide between the two, and they're both important. So W is for wins and also what it's like to work with me. So you talk about your wins. So that would be like social proof, that would be reviews and testimonials and transformations, how you've helped people.
Yeah.
And then what it's like to work with me is kind of, behind the scenes. It is maybe talking people through the process, and just so that they get a feel for you. So if they literally want to pay you to do whatever it is that you do, they
Yeah.
already kind of know what it's going to be like to work
Yeah.
with you.
Yeah.
So that's the framework. And obviously in the larger view, so if you've got a 3-month plan like I have, so that's growth, nurture, sales. In the overall, you still go with the glow framework, but you can alter it. So in my growth phase, I will put more growth content out than
Yeah.
anything. In my middle month, it would be mostly about the love, so the nurturing, the behind the scenes, the getting to know me, the
Yeah.
giving hints and tips, teaching people how to do it themselves and that kind of thing. And then once you get to the final part, you put more of your offer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you alter the ratio of your glow framework according
Yeah.
to where you are in your, if you've got a launch coming up, obviously you're going to be doing more of your offering.
Mm.
And as I say, if you just wanted to grow your audience, it's more about growth. So that is my really simple way of being strategic.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be overly complicated, and that's something that you can rinse and repeat. So once you've gone through a couple of rounds of those objectives,
Yeah.
don't start from scratch every time. You can just be, tweaking content, and you've got a really sound framework to then go on and on and on. So yeah, that's the glow framework is what I teach to my clients to
I
keep
love
things
that.
simple.
Glow, grow and
Glow.
glow. Um, I'm gonna just come back. This might sound really silly here, two stupid questions, but I'm going to ask the stupid
Oh,
questions.
please,
Don't worry,
no such
you have
thing.
to. So true, there is no such as a stupid question, but I'm just thinking. So you hear a lot about people talk on social media about don't keep reinventing things, don't start from scratch. You do a sort of rinse repeat of what you've done, or repost or repurpose the content.
Hmm.
Repurpose the content. I hear a lot
Hmm.
in listening to what you've just said about your globe framework. If you've got a 3 month cycle, is that how you're going to repurpose or repost your content, because you're doing that cycle of how you're doing it? But and then the changing it could be what didn't work when you did it the last time, how can you do it to get a better reach or engagement when you do it the next time? Is that how you're
Absolutely.
the strategy you're using? Sorry to ask.
Yeah. No, 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 it's not. No, that's a brilliant question. Yes, I bang on about repurposing and not reinventing the wheel, because you don't have to. Social media is basically one big testing pot.
Mm,
So everybody's audience is different. So what works for me might not work for you and
mm,
or the next seven
mm.
people. Everybody's audience is different, everybody's business is different, everybody's offer is different. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, social media is not a once and done and a quick fix. It is, you are in social media for the long haul,
Yeah.
and it's about testing. So yes, you're testing different formats and different messages, different hooks, different
Mm,
calls to action
mm,
to see what works.
mm.
And that's why you look back at your analytics, and that's another thing that people get a bit frightened of, is
Yeah.
when you mention analytics and data. But if you literally just look back, see what you got the most likes and comments and shares and
Yeah.
that kind of thing, and have a look at the objectives, because obviously if you are growing your audience, your objectives are to get likes,
Mm,
and get people to follow you,
mm.
because Instagram have come out and said that actually likes is now a really important metric to measure. It didn't used to be, but it is now.
Yeah.
So just getting likes is a really good thing. If your content is all about building relationships and trying to get engagement, then obviously comments and saves are a good metric to look at. Um, but yes, going back to your original question, um, which I've forgotten exactly where I was going with that. Um,
Okay.
Repurposing, yes. So basically, you need to look back at what has worked in the
Yeah.
past,
Yeah.
and do it again. So if something's really worked, so for example, a little while ago, probably about a year ago actually, I put out a really simple reel. So it
Yeah.
was a B-roll reel.
Yeah.
I don't know. I hope
You
everybody
better
understands.
explain just in case.
So B-roll is it's a little video that you film. Maybe, well, mine was me standing at my desk. I've got a sit stand desk. It was me standing at my desk, doing a little drummy thing and kind of, working at my desk. I wasn't talking to the camera. It wasn't a talking heads camera or anything, reel or anything like that. It was literally just me doing my do at my desk. So B-roll can be you making a cup of tea. It can be you walking the dog. It could be you walking on the beach. It could be you chatting with a client. You sat at your desk. Anything that is movement based and doesn't actually tell a story.
Mm,
Probably the easiest way to describe it is when you're watching a film, all the bits in the film where the actors are talking and telling the story. I
mhm.
think that's what they call A roll. And then the bits where, for example, one of the characters has to go into hospital and they just do a quick pan of the outside of the hospital just to set a scene. There's no
Yeah.
actual story going on it.
Yeah.
That's the B roll. So that's where it comes from. It's just kind of
Brilliant.
background film. So
Thank you for that.
no, that's absolutely fine. So that's B-roll is just one of the most handy things you can have. And everybody's got, well, most people have got a smartphone with a camera, and I go about and I just take B-roll everywhere. So wherever I am, I set my camera up if I'm meeting with a client and just do a time lapse of us chatting. And everywhere I go, even if it's just some waves on the beach or when I'm out walking the dog or anything like that, I've even got B-roll of me driving my car. Just it's movement and it's something of interest.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So anyway, getting back to this piece of content was me standing at my sit stand walk desk. And I just put on there something along the lines of, this is I'm just working away waiting for you to find my account for quick, simple social media tips or something along
Yeah.
those lines. And that was all it was. And then a
Yeah.
caption just saying, you know, if you struggle to be consistent on your social media, I'm here to help. Follow
Yeah.
me for
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
Just a really, really simple growth reel. I
Yeah.
put that out, and for me, because you have to go by your own metrics,
Mm.
it didn't go viral, but it did very well. I got
Yeah.
probably 3 or 4 times the normal
Yeah.
amount of reach
Yeah.
and likes on that. And I got some new followers from that. And
Yeah.
so I looked back at that a few months later and went, that was really good piece of growth content. And I put it out again. I
Yeah.
literally just put it out again as it was because it was
Yeah.
such a simple little piece of content.
Yeah.
Now you can do that with anything. You can go back and think, oh, well, that got quite a lot of comments. What can I learn from that? So it doesn't need to be, you can completely put it out as it was, or you can go, oh, the format of that was good.
Yeah.
So I could do some different B-roll, but the same sort of thing, and
Yeah.
maybe tweak the message,
Yeah.
and put that out. And it's learning from what works, not
Yeah.
trying all the different things. If
Yeah.
if growth reels work for you on your account and you're getting lots of followers and you want to grow your account, then that's what you need to do more of.
Yeah.
And keep the same format and do what works. Find what works and double down on it and do it
Yeah.
again.
Yeah. Oh,
And you have to do that all the time because
yeah.
even from month to month things change on Instagram, and content differs. And like at the moment, content that talks about me and I seems to be doing really well. A
Yeah.
few months ago, a few years ago, you were told you have to talk about the audience and
Yeah.
what's in it for them and
Yeah.
make it about them.
Yeah.
Now, the content that's really working is, here's how I create 5 meals for under £25.
Yeah.
If you're a nutritionist or
Mm.
whatever. And here's how I do this, steal my approach. And it's
Yeah.
all about me, myself, and I,
Yeah.
really. So, but that changes, and that,
Yeah.
that won't necessarily work forever. So it's one of
No.
those things that you have to test what works. And yes, you
Yeah.
can get inspiration from other accounts
Mm.
because they do tend to, um, if somebody puts something out that's really creative and it works, then take
Yeah.
inspiration from it, but do
Yeah.
your take on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that was. Don't start from scratch. You
No,
you
no,
can.
and I totally did, because I've been 3 years I've been out creating content and it's all original. I don't think I put the same post out twice, apart from my Christmas series when I did my digital advent calendar. So,
And that's absolutely
it,
fine. That's great if you've got the time to do that. But but there are times like when you're a bit busy or a little bit stressed and things are
yeah,
dropping off a little bit. The
yeah,
easiest way to stay consistent is look at what's worked in the
yeah,
past and
yeah,
either repost it or just go, well, that worked, and this is why I think it worked. So
yeah,
I'm going to create something. I'm going to be inspired by that piece of
yeah.
content and
Uh,
create another piece of content that's similar but a little bit different.
I think that is so, again, going back to listening to what your strategy was, your 3 month strategy, and the tips that you're sharing, and going back to the things that I've heard told and what I was, when I was going setting up, it was one message, one voice, one, just focus on one thing and be known for that thing. You have to put an offer out every month, a free one, to get the people in the room to be talking, etc. And don't be doing what you want to do what they need.
Mhm.
And all of these things, and none of it felt me or what I was about. I knew that doing digital skills, which is what I do teach, is too big a broader subject, especially when you look at all of the things that I do teach during the week. And to focus on the one thing. But again, even focusing on, when you look at it, there's loads of people doing uh, Excel stuff. There's loads of people that do PowerPoint. Actually, there's very few people, if any, doing things like Microsoft Word. And then you think, oh, does that because nobody wants it or
Yeah.
needs it, type of thing. Or they get by. So it is trying to challenge what is that thing, especially if you are unique in what you're doing. And a little bit like your framework with the glow, mine was the be social, get digital, use tech with confidence, because that was my journey. It was learning to use social media to be social, and it ended up, the B became the capital B of believe in yourself, embrace the challenges, excel in your goals, because I did far more on social media than I ever thought I was going to be doing. The get digital was the growing confidence through the education and training that I got through the use of social media to develop my own digital skills and knowledge. And then the finishing off was using tech with confidence, because through the Be Social and the Get Digital, I was able to use the tech with confidence, even stuff that I hadn't used before. So even like when somebody came to me and said I need to do a presentation tomorrow using Canva on the stage, and then well, I hadn't used Canva presentations before, but we still got through the training
Yeah.
put
Yeah.
together and did it, because I was confident that I knew I'd be able to get him
Yeah.
through it, even if I
Yeah.
hadn't used it before. Do you know what I mean? So it is about going back to that thing we were saying before, that message, that confidence of boosting. If you're a person who's actually not confident in stuff, you want to get confident in what you're doing, so you actually look at more of what it is that you do, and it's the building of that thing, the confidence to use the tech, and that's what you're sharing, and that becomes the message or the voice or the stuff that you're trying to share. Now try and put that into social media content. I'll let her do that. But it's also about looking at your performance. And I think that was something else I struggled with, because when I was going on there, it wasn't so much about what, yes, I was wanting to get people to like, and I was wanting to get in comments, but they were the vanity metrics of, not but it also, what I've learned more, especially this year, is that I'm absolutely hopeless at maths and science. But actually, the whole purpose of it is the STEM approach. It is the science, the experiment of it. It is the maths to look at the analytical side of things. It is the engineering of how you construct the post to
Mhm.
get to get the target, the purpose, and everything else. And the I forgot what the T is for now, but it is
Technology, isn't it?
yeah, the using the tech, here we go, tech. It is using the tech strategically to get to do it, but also it's the art as well. It's the creative side of things. So you can be the arts and the sciences together in order to achieve what we're doing on social media, and it actually
Yeah.
brings all of it together. And I think that's what people don't realize. It is all about all of those things together. So even if you aren't into maths and science and stuff like that, there are elements that you are needing in order to put together the content that you're putting out, and the creative, the Canva designs or the photos. Even getting the right photos to go with the
Yeah.
captions is still an art on presenting what it is you're trying to do. So it was interesting, because from the analytical perspective, I've not honestly, if I'm honest with you, I've looked at the numbers, but I haven't let it dwell on things like, oh, I've got that many or whatever. But from actually getting the feedback on what's worked and what hasn't worked, to me, the best platform for giving me that has actually been TikTok, would you believe?
Right.
Because I can see exactly how many people have viewed my posts, how many people have liked the post, how many of it, people have saved the post, even from way back, when they've been looking at how many people are looking at my profile every day
Hmm.
and seeing what's working. And I mean, I haven't gone viral on anything, but on one particular post that I use the same content across all the platforms, because then I can actually monitor the
Yes.
performance of how they're doing. So that's, if you like, that's my analytical, which platform is working best for the content that I put out. And there was one of them that I shared a post. I think the caption was, "Have you got what it takes?" And it was a picture that I posted. It was a AI created one, but it was me teaching a client, and I was supposed to be teaching them how to use spreadsheets, but 45 minutes out of an hour session was spent actually trying to get them how to use Zoom to actually get to
Oh gosh.
split the screen, two screens, in order to be able to teach them Google Sheets. And the question was, do you have what it takes? Have you got the patience? Would you be able to do that in a session to get somebody going?
Yeah.
And it got something like 7,000
Brilliant.
views and stuff like that. And I mean, it was a record more than anything else. But it goes back to a comment that I was having with you off camera about the tech and the tech setup. And
Mhm.
sometimes, what we perceive to be the problem, creating your presentations, creating your documents, doing those things that you think people will need the help with, in actual fact, it isn't that what they're interested in. They just want to know that they can do their Zoom presentation without showing their slides, or that they can actually get the actual things in front of them, or have the conversation with the audience and not be showing all their slide notes and stuff like that, which
Yeah.
I've seen so much bad presentation delivery. But it's that they want to make sure that they don't make those mistakes,
Yes,
or
absolutely.
or to be able to get the Zoom set up so they can have the conversation and do the teaching. So yeah, I do actually, guys, do that. That is an offer. It is now becoming a standalone offer that you can take part on. Use your tech check setup 101. Anyway,
Everybody needs it. It doesn't matter how experienced you are, something's always going to go wrong with tech.
exactly,
Like
exactly.
my monitor this morning, for example, has just gone off.
Exactly. The Zoom suddenly crashes in the middle of your
Yeah.
delivery. What do you do? The Wi-Fi doesn't work. How do you deliver your presentation? I mean,
Oh gosh.
there are things. So they always have a backup plan of
Yes.
where.
Yes. And make it old school because you never let down by old school.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So I mean, the reading of all the script notes and things like that, don't use a script. At the end of the day,
Yeah.
you can have it as a guide. The slides are a prompt, but the delivery is what you're having the
Yeah.
conversation
Yeah.
with. I think I said to you, I'll put some questions together, but don't trust me to
But
follow
yeah,
them.
we'll just see where we go.
We'll see where we go. So, I want to just go back on track now, as we have definitely gone off piste here. I knew it would. I had a feeling it would, but this is far more valuable. Um, One of the things, and actually, as we've been talking about this, is about showing up your way, your voice, your brand, and I think we've been talking a little bit about this already, about how you have to be your own unique self. You can't be a carbon copy of someone
Yeah.
else or do someone else. You have to do it your way, even if you are looking at the content. And I know I said to my people to go and have a look at what other people are doing. What do you
Hmm.
like, what you don't like that they're doing, how do they do different things differently, what are they missing out on, and use those things to bring your content to you. And I know for one of the things that, as I said, with the specializing, people, either doing all Excel or all PowerPoint or all, social media tips. For me personally, I follow the social media because that's what I was interested in. And there's lots of really good strategic approaches on that. But for me, teaching the digital skills, I was initially trying to do different themes per month. So I would be focusing on like email, file management, Word. I'd never bothered so much with Excel or PowerPoint because there was always stuff out there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but those were in my mind, my themes, and also being safe online, because that was one of the other things that people were worried about, their
Yes.
security and their online safety. So that sort of started to be my original. So when I started this year, if I look at the content, I started off with the Be Safe Online that followed from my Halloween haunt fun that I did last year, to being safe online, to then it was like the pitch and present with power, because that's what people seemed to feel that they wanted. So the even with this show, the themes of the chats have been around the themes that I've been doing and focusing
Mhm.
on. So that has sort of helped me pull together some of my content and what I sort of like to talk about. But as I said, one of the tips that I've been hearing is to niche down or focus on one thing and say it over and over in loads of different ways. And what I found is that is good advice, but that doesn't necessarily apply to everybody. And I think it's, how do you take that advice that we see out there, and there's lots of it, that is conflicting, to work out what is right for you and the type of business that you're offering, and what is not? Because with all due respect, everybody will tell you that their way is the right way and you should be
Mhm.
doing it this way, you
Mhm.
should be doing it that way. And when you're looking at that, trying to work out what is right for you and your voice can be really difficult. So how do you help people to find their voice and know what type of format is right for them to match what it is that they're trying to do, if that's okay?
Yes, I mean you might have to you might have to pull me back onto this one because I get a little bit nerdy when I'm talking about this sort of stuff. But I do work with my clients on a very bespoke basis.
Mm,
So inside my program, which I will talk about a little bit later, I teach people how to use Instagram for business, but I teach them from where they are. So not everybody's in the same position. At the moment, I've got one lady who is incredibly confident with making all the different formats of content and is very happy talking to camera. Another one who literally doesn't know what buttons to press on Instagram in order to, you know, post a story, or she doesn't know the difference between reels and stories and carousels and all that kind of thing. So I work with people on a very bespoke basis. And what I say to people is, yes, there's so much advice out there, and it's all about staying consistent. And you must post 5 times a week,
mm,
6 times a week, seven
yeah,
times a week. You must do this, you must do that, you must do.
yeah,
And I just say, no, no, we need to, what you must do is what you are comfortable with and what fits with your life, with your
yeah,
business, within your ability. And so, you know, if your version of consistent looks like posting once or twice a week, well, that's what you do to begin with, because it's all about confidence. It's all
yeah,
about establishing habits.
yeah,
I think if you are going from naught to wanting to be visible on social media, it has to be baby steps.
yeah,
If you are already posting 3 times a week and you want to ramp that up a little bit, then yes, that's doable because you've
yeah,
got the habit of posting 3 times a week. You've probably got some content that you could repurpose, and you know, you're not starting from scratch. So I'm very much about working with the person, what works for you, what fits in, and what isn't overwhelming. Because if
mm,
you go at, you know, I could, the lady who doesn't know what buttons to press, I can
mm,
teach her what buttons to press and then go, right, now you need to post 4 or 5 times a week. You need to
yeah,
do 3 reels, two
yeah,
carousels, and you need
yeah,
to be on stories every day. And
yeah,
she would just go, what?
yeah, yeah,
What are you talking about? And
yeah,
it's not fair. It's not helpful. She would just, you know, shut down and go, right, I'm not doing this Instagram lark, if that's how
no,
difficult it is. And it
yes,
doesn't have to be that difficult.
no,
You can take baby steps. And
yeah,
this is, you know, I work with each of my clients individually to
mm,
find a rhythm and a schedule that works for
yeah,
them,
yeah,
not
yeah,
against them, and it
yeah,
works with their business. And
yeah,
yes, I tell people to go and find inspiration from other accounts, even other accounts that aren't in your niche.
yeah, yeah,
If I scroll Instagram quite a lot, I enjoy it. It's, you
yeah,
know, um I like sort of reels about dogs, and you know, and you know, just for a bit of light entertainment. It's not all about business.
yeah,
But even, you know, you can learn what's working from what people are currently doing. So even
yeah,
if, you know, I've learned, I've taken inspiration from, you know, dog trainers who have
yeah,
been doing reels about X, Y, and Z, and I've gone, oh, how could I make that? I like that.
yeah,
It's a bit
yeah,
different. It stopped me scrolling. It kept my
yeah,
attention.
yeah,
How could I do
yeah,
that for my own business? And
yeah,
it's about that, because as I said earlier, everybody's audience is different,
yeah,
everybody's business is different. And
yeah,
so I can't go, right, I found what works for my business, now
yeah,
you do it, because
yeah,
that's,
no,
it's not going to work. So
no,
it is all about, it's drawing inspiration,
yeah,
it is finding your comfort level
yeah,
and staying there for a little while. And then yes, I will encourage people to step out of their comfort
yeah,
zone a little
yeah,
bit to try
yeah, yeah,
and to, you know, to try and stretch them a little bit and grow their audience. But
yeah,
it's about doing it with you, with what you are comfortable with. So if people are
yeah,
not comfortable with what I call talking heads reels, which is
yeah,
literally you talking to the camera,
yeah,
um, that's kind of like almost everybody's like moment.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
you
yeah,
that's, I'd love to be able to do that, but
yeah,
I know I'm not going to have the confidence to do it.
no,
So baby steps. So for
yeah,
example, building up to that, stories on Instagram are the best place for starting that, because you can post, because, well, stories are temporary. They're only there for 24 hours
Yeah.
and then they disappear.
Yeah.
They are only shown to your existing audience, so you're not going to have everybody and his dog on the
Yeah.
internet looking at you.
Yeah.
So you can start by, if you're shy,
Yeah.
posting a photo of yourself and just have a little bit of information. You could introduce yourself on stories.
Yeah.
You can do kind of just a voice-based
Yeah.
story if you want, with a little photo in the background.
Mm.
And then you could start, maybe showing your face on stories and doing a little talk to camera. So it's a
Yeah.
really nice place to
Yeah.
practice in a safe environment.
Yeah.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
The thought of putting my face on camera on my actual grid where it was going to stay forever. You can delete it, it's not going to stay there forever. But the thought of that filled
Yeah.
me with dread.
Yeah.
But I just started going on to stories, and it wasn't even every day. I mean, I would do something stories wise every day if I could, but I wasn't doing talk to camera
No.
every day. And
Yeah.
just maybe twice a week, I would go on and just talk about what I was doing, or, maybe tell people that I'd just sent out my newsletter, or share a link to my lead magnet and
Yeah.
get people to sign up to there's a whole other episode
Lead
in there.
magnets. Lead
And
magnet.
getting mailing lists
We're
and
going on about the lead magnets now.
absolutely no. And so I just practiced, and now I'm really comfortable just picking up my phone. I do it, when I've got my hair scraped back and no makeup, I will go on to stories and just have a little chat, because it's one of the ways of
Yeah.
showing your personality.
Yeah.
And it's just baby steps. And then that got me to the point where I felt slightly more comfortable. Before, I have to talk myself into doing a talking heads wheel,
Yeah.
but I am a lot more comfortable with that. And so, I challenge people. Like, I've got a stories challenge, a
Yeah.
5 day stories challenge, where I send people an email every day with a little bit of kind of teaching about why stories are good and how
Yeah.
you can use them, because selling on stories is just chef's kiss. It's the best place. It's just,
I know there's
it's,
so much to be said about
yes,
stories, but I
absolutely.
really struggle with stories, if I'm totally honest with you.
Right,
And
right.
I always forget to do them every day. I know I
Yeah,
should, but I do. And I think I tell you probably what the problem is as well. You only get a 60-second opportunity, and however hard I try, I cannot get it done within 60 seconds.
you can
So
do two or three though. You don't have to be limited. You just have to have a little break in
yeah,
between. But
I don't do lives. That's that. Well, rephrase that. I do lives. But I what I found that I do, and I love what you're sharing, because and it's so how I am as well. It's probably well, we're going to talk for hours now. Sorry, we won't. But the that bespoke offer of what you do, that's really very much what I'm about. What
yeah,
people need. You meet them at their level. So the
yes,
IT for you is literally as it is. It's IT for you. It's what you need, the solutions to the problems that you have, and how I can
yeah,
help you. And the fact it is digital skills, it's digital skills in the office line. It's the digital skills, whether it's Google, Apple, or Microsoft. Those are the digital skills I use. Social media, the internet, email, those are the things that I work at. What I've also been discovering more since I've been online is the online world of digital skills is totally different, and that's a whole new set of things to sort of learn. But going back to the baby steps, yeah, exactly what you said. And going back to my own example of the be social, with believing in yourself, my fear of being talking online, not knowing what to say, and stuff like that. I started doing the Facebook group. The Facebook
mhm,
group was where I went in, and I started doing initially recorded videos, uploading them, and then I started doing what I called the Friday Live at 5. So that
mhm,
was me going on at 5 o'clock just to do a little bit of what was going in. And then I would sort of say, oh, we got questions, any questions you want to ask? And then because I'd been building relationships with people that I'd been building relationships with became members of my community within the group that became the tech experts. So would you believe that then became the theme of the month, that I would have one of the guests in the group become my guest on my Feature Friday special? And because at the time I was only using the free version of Zoom, we only got 40 minutes to talk to each other. So it became a little mini
yeah,
series. And
mhm,
I did that for the first 6 months of that group. And that Feature Friday special became the first series of Be in the Spotlight,
Yeah.
because they then wanted to, they realized that they could share their wares within the group with the discussion on different things. And it was about using the tech. So it got me talking to the
Hmm.
people. It got me going through there and getting more confident with the talking. So I did do some lives. Mostly it was recorded videos. And then what I would do is, if I got tech questions came into me, how do I do that? Then I use that as the format or the basis to create the video content when I did it. So it was very specific to what people asked for,
Yeah.
rather than just creating it for the sake of it. And then I decided that a couple of the people were wanting to share it with their on the social media platform. And I think because of the settings and the privacy, we couldn't share it as we wanted to. And then I thought, well, I keep being told you ought to be using YouTube, you should be doing it again, do
Yes.
this, do that. So I thought that the YouTube channel, and I made it the channel, would be a good place to put the interviews that I'd got. And I ended up, and then I started, as you said, about being more strategic. Well, what was the purpose of it? What was I trying to do? And that's when I actually I launched it January last year. But I had to pause it because of a family bereavement. And then I relaunched it. So I'd got a couple of interviews I'd recorded, but I hadn't launched. And
Hmm.
then I launched it again in July last year, but with a social media campaign building up to it about email and file management. Did the chat show, and the idea was that we did a workshop to follow on from it, so that it was, and then with that basis I then moved forward the change of the whole approach of what I was doing. And it
Hmm.
was quite interesting. So it's been a lot of tech element, but there's been interesting the amount of people that I can talk to about different things and their journeys. So we've had some amazing conversations with people that specialize in neurodiversity, for example.
Hmm.
I've had tutors doing different areas of their tuition business, consultants, trainers, so it's been quite an interesting blend
Yeah.
of people to talk to, but within and around a theme. So and this year, as I said, it's been more strategic again with the content, branding, voice, cyber security, the use of AI technology. So it's been quite interesting, but it's how that can go from being afraid to stand up in front of camera to now doing what I do. and
Yeah,
and that and that and
absolutely.
as you said, it's all baby steps, but it's building that
Yeah.
confidence to do it and have a purpose and a vision of what it is you're trying to achieve, and being strategic with it. So I think that's a beautiful share you've done. And I love the bit that you've said about the stories and carousels and reels and stuff. And that was, I think, something I liked about Instagram myself. There's a lot of that sharing of good practice and advice on there.
Hmm.
um, and there was something I saw on TikTok as well this week. Sorry, we're mentioning TikTok again. But it was about creating three different types of content. One would be like the static post,
Yeah.
the one with the video with you talking, and then giving it another type of video or carousel type of thing. So you've said the same thing, but
Yeah,
three different ways and three different
absolutely.
formats to see which works. And then obviously when you find out the format that's working, you do a mixture
But there's also, yes, absolutely 100% that take the message that you're putting and put it in all the different formats to see what works and then do more of that. But equally, there is also the argument that not everybody enjoys consuming the same kind of content. So I love watching reels, but I also love a bit of a swipe on a carousel. Other people might just want a picture and a caption. So if you've got those three different styles of content on your grid,
Yeah,
you're going to find, they're going to appeal to somebody. All of those are going to appeal to somebody. So
yeah,
they're never wasted.
yeah,
And yes, you might find that reels do far better than static posts because
yeah,
generally they do. And
yeah,
so that you double down on the reels, but never discount a good photo and caption
yeah,
every now and again,
yeah,
because some people just prefer consuming content that way. It's like I needed to do some weekly content, so I put some weekly content out every week, and I started with my blog because I'm a writer. So I
yeah,
thought, right, this is what I do. I'll do my writing, and then I was going to use that to, kind of cascade down through into social media and everything. but I got quite not bored, but it just didn't feel right, and I realized that actually the reason it didn't feel right to me is because the way that I like to consume content is via a podcast. I
Yeah,
love listening to podcasts. So if I'm walking the dog, if I'm washing the dishes, if I'm in the car, I don't have the radio on. I have a podcast on,
yeah,
and I love consuming content like that. So I started a podcast for
yeah,
that reason. It's very selfish, but I have found that actually I really enjoy doing that, and
yeah,
that's like the top of my content strategy. And
yeah,
then from that, I write a blog,
yeah,
and from that, I write a newsletter,
yeah,
and from all of that, that then comes down to my social
yeah,
content. So I've
yeah,
always got something to talk about, but I
yeah,
also know what formats work, and
yeah,
if I'm teaching something, then trying to give away, like 3 or 4 tips on something, a carousel is ideal because you
yeah,
can switch,
yeah,
swipe through,
yeah,
and
yeah,
but it's also great for a reel because I can then do some B-roll with the little tips
yeah,
appearing on
yeah,
there. So,
yeah,
there's different ways of reaching different people because yes, your audience are all supposed to be your ideal audience, but they don't all have one ideal way
no,
of watching content.
no,
So,
and
don't
no.
discount all others.
No, and that goes, and that's very true with learning because we all learn a different way.
Yeah,
So when
absolutely. Some are visual, some are, yeah,
exactly, so it's
yeah,
trying to appeal to all of the senses
yes,
to
yeah.
get to reach out there.
It's meeting people where they are. Again, like you
Yeah,
said,
yeah, yeah,
I've got a podcast, I've got a blog, I've got a newsletter. That's 3 different
yeah,
social media. And so they're all different ways of people
yeah,
consuming content. And
yeah,
so it's all the same content and
yeah,
which helps with consistency as well and
yeah,
feeling everything feeling cohesive. You're putting the same messages out and
yeah,
repeating yourself, and so it's just a really good way of
yeah.
catching everybody where they
Yeah,
are.
exactly. And I think that was also part of the things I've learned from this show, that it can be complementary to my offer, or its digital skills, it's sharing the
Yeah,
technology, but
yeah.
from other people's perspective. So I put it as content that I put out there collaboratively. I
Hmm.
think we were talking about this before we went on camera. It's what we do. So, you know, but it's also, because it's adding value. It's adding value to what I've got that my audience will benefit from, and they can learn, from other people that are experts, and that is
Yeah,
what I feel. So, although I mean, I know somebody sort of said, "Oh, you can use it and create your whole content for a month just from that post," and I think that it was a good thing. But the only thing I worried about with doing it is it then looked like I was becoming the expert of that, and that wasn't what was the message I did. So
yeah,
I've tried to make it now in this month's guest I chatted to and we talked about and learned
yes,
from, and that was the better way of formatting it. So
yes,
it's
yeah.
it's my growth and how I've learned, and this is full of going to be amazing. I'm learning so much from you. Thank you for sharing.
Oh, you're
Um,
welcome.
but it's how you're learning it and how your audience can benefit from what you're doing, and obviously, hopefully, they'll go to the YouTube channel and listen to it. It will come out on a podcast at some stage. I promise. It is a work in progress, but it's what you call time, and at least the YouTube, I can put it there. So,
Yeah,
but and you said it's how you consume it. I don't listen to podcasts. I find it difficult. I will watch the videos. If
yeah.
everybody's podcast were released as a video, I would have it. I would sit there and watch it and listening to it that way. But
That's funny, isn't
physically,
it? Because I'm
it
I'm the other way around. I would much rather have it in my ears and be able to go about doing things. And that
yeah,
like we
this is
say,
it.
the different
But
people,
yeah,
horses for courses.
exactly. And the other thing as well is I thought I couldn't be talking to myself on my own. I would not be able to do a podcast of my own. So what's the point of doing so? I wouldn't know what to be talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah, yeah.
But I tell you what, I have had fun doing, which is quite interesting, and it's about the moving content, from the talking heads approach to the not. And what I've done, because I've recorded videos and I've just thought they've been really boring and I've just like deleted them or something like that. I have to have a purpose. And I have started this year. I've become a member of I'm going to mention a positive business club because we're always we're always supporting each other. Anyway, we get a monthly gift box for being in the membership. and one of the things she was to show your video of you opening the gift box.
Yes.
So I've now started doing it with the camera, me opening up the gift box and recording it and talking about it. So
Nice.
it's the reactions are live as I'm opening up this box and doing, but it actually seems to work. And I'm thinking, well, that's a way I can do my videos that show me rather than me talking and doing it very theoretical, teaching mode, which is very serious and, even I
Yeah.
would switch off to do. So it's finding your way of delivering.
Absolutely, and a lot of people, as I say, are very hesitant to do talking heads, and so that's the idea of B-roll, is that it shows you're doing something. Your face is on there, but you're not having to speak, and then you can put
Yeah,
messages over the top or
yeah,
anything. So you are actually sharing yourself on
yeah,
social media,
yeah,
and the fact that you're opening a box, that'll keep people hooked because they want to see what's in the box, and there's lots of movement, and so that's ideal.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
absolutely ideal if there's movement. So sometimes I will, like, even if I'm doing a talking heads video, actually, it's so I'll move from room to room. So there's always a little bit of movement in the background, or I've done one where I've been peeling potatoes.
yeah,
And it's just so to give people something to watch.
yeah,
And even if they're like, you peel potatoes weird, you're getting a little bit of engagement. I know someone who I learned from a lot, did a talking heads, and she talks about it all the time. She did a talk, I think it was a talking heads, it might have been B-roll. Anyway, she did a video of her peeling ginger with a spoon, and the amount of traction that got, because everyone was like, why are you peeling ginger with a spoon? This is how you should do it. And it got lots of, and yes, it wasn't related,
yeah,
but it got her lots of reach and comments and that kind of thing, which then overspills, it got people to follow her and that kind of thing. So if you
yeah,
can do something that is really eye-catching,
yeah,
maybe even a little bit weird, that's
yeah,
ideal for
yeah.
stopping the scroll.
Yeah, oh, you've given me some ideas actually. Even talking
There
to you,
you
my
go.
my head's was buzzing away. The
Can't
buzz.
wait to
There is
see your content.
it's coming, coming now. What I tend to happen though, what ends up is overwhelm myself with all
Yeah.
this ideas, and then I struggle to get it all down,
I was
finding
going to
the
say,
time.
get them written down after this video, get them
Yeah.
written down, and then you can come back to them.
Do you know, and I did that yesterday. I actually was walking around with a notebook, and because of a few things that have happened within the last 24 hours and what I've also got coming up, I talk about overwhelming myself this week. I did it royally over this week, too much going on. And my head's been buzzing literally. That's another reason why the buzz is used so much in
Yeah.
my business, because it's buzzing with ideas, it's the ideas and the head and stuff like that. But anyway, I actually got it was writing down, and I've ended up creating about 3 or 4 mini series just within, with what's happened in the last 24 hours, and writing it and typing it and getting it there. And I thought brain dumping it. And I thought, well, one of it, while I was not able to get onto ChatGPT because I'd use my allowance again, get the idea down, written down or typed up or whatever, and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And yeah, I'm even now I'm losing track of where I'm going with it, but yeah, it is to write things down, to get those
Yes.
ideas down, and figure out where it is you're
Yes.
going. And especially, like, I've had a couple of conversations this week where I've got ideas where I'm testing it and I'm running
Hmm.
by to see what people think of it, not because that they are buyers, but they're strategically they're in the same sort of mindset of where I am. So sometimes if you brainstorming ideas, it's good to run it past someone else to get that reflection back, the mirror back at you. If there's something you've missed or whatever. Normally it works the other way around, that I can get the ideas and give them loads of suggestions. but
Yeah.
but,
Yeah.
but it is that, and I think that's another thing, is especially if you aren't in a mentoring or coaching type of container, again, having those relationships where you can network and bounce ideas off of each other and thing
Absolutely.
is
Yeah.
also a really good thing to be able to do as well. So So yeah, and again, I like what you were saying about the content. Instagram definitely was my place for the ideas and stuff like that, and
Hmm.
about the reels. You know, using Canva and realizing that you could make reels just with text, animated text, and things like that, and
Yeah.
then add music to make it an MP4 was another way. So I did a hell of a lot of that type of content with carousels and reels to begin with, and that was confident because I hadn't got to put my face on camera. I was doing it. And then, as I said, 6 months ago, in part of this program I was in, it was that you are your brand. It was getting that next step of being confident again, you know, put your face out there because you are the brands, not not the business, not everything
Yes.
else. That's there's
Yeah.
the process, that the tools that you use to sell you, but
Yeah.
it's you that are people. So you know, so having gone from not having a face on social media, not wanting to be seen, you know, not even using my name and stuff like that, to changing that on
Yes.
social media was a real big take turn for me, to go from, you know, not wanting to be seen
So faceless too.
to
Yes.
from
Yeah.
faceless to
Hmm.
I won't say nameless, but you know, going from one extreme to the other
The
as
other.
being.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that was also something else that people that know me in the real world, that have, you know how anti I was social media and didn't want to have anything to do it, to go from one extreme to the other now. You know, they will still say they can't believe that I do what I do. I still don't know why and how I'm doing it, but it just shows you. And I think that is, you know, as you said, it's that making something that you feel passionate about, that you feel strongly about, and that you believe in. And when you do that, that enables you to deliver what you do, and keep doing and persevering. And okay,
Absolutely.
it
Yeah.
might not be right, but that's part of the experiment. That the thing is the learning, what worked, what doesn't work, and then, you know, what worked, look at it and then re-engineer it to see how it did it, to keep doing it. And what didn't work, it, well, okay, what didn't work, how can you do it next time, going back to that STEM experience again,
Yeah.
experiment and
Yeah. Yeah.
experience again.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
anyway, I think we have covered so many things here that I'm just flicking around at the questions and stuff like that. So what I would really love now is, we've talked a lot about the content, we talked about the platform. We know that Instagram is obviously your favorite. I know you're also on LinkedIn
I am.
too.
Hmm.
And I know that there's something else that you do that we haven't talked about, that isn't something that we've actually talked about, is our interest in health and well-being, and the networking approach that you used for doing that.
My walk and talk. Is that what
Yes.
you're talking about? Yes, I'm actually. I'm a member of a group called the Founder Mums Club. Unfortunately, there are only three of us where
Oh,
round about where I live, but the rest of them live down London way.
yeah.
And Tracy, who runs Founder Mums Club, is I think she's a coach and a yeah, she does kind of um, coaching on mindfulness and that
Mm,
kind of thing.
mm,
And so she's very much into well-being and all that kind of
mm,
thing. And so what I love about that is that um, on a Monday morning, she does an accountability session where we all go along and chat and say what's good, what's bad, and then we sit
mm,
and co-work on Zoom
mm,
for an hour and a half. But the other thing that she does is a walk and talk where you get together, you go for a walk, and we're not talking, hiking up a mountain or anything
mm,
like that. It's like 45 minutes walk and then coffee and
mm,
cake
mm,
afterwards. So it's
mm.
just, best of
Yeah,
all worlds. But because I couldn't go to those, I was like,
yeah,
I'm not trekking down the country just to go for a couple of hours.
yeah,
So I put out there to my network saying, who would like to be involved in some networking.
yeah,
So social networking is what I
yeah,
call
yeah,
it.
yeah.
And then Tracy said to me, why don't you do this on behalf of Founder Mums? And so, basically it's like a collaboration. Our audiences are very similar because I work with people like me who are
Yeah,
generally
yeah,
business owning mums.
yeah,
So it was ideal. And again, I've done two of them and they've been lovely. It just,
yeah,
fairly small groups, but we
yeah.
meet and I live at the coast. So we've
Oh,
been down at the
lovely.
beach and just
Mm,
and you end up talking not just about business, but about the juggle of,
Yeah,
school holidays and
yeah,
kids and business and having, a million other
yeah,
plates spinning and, how to, and it's just lovely. You come away with a little bounce in your step and thinking, it's not just me, I'm not alone, and it's building relationships. And,
yeah,
I see there's a lot of people who I already know come on them, but then
yeah,
there's been a couple of people who I don't know come on
yeah,
them, and I've met new people, and it's just a really, really lovely way to spend a couple of hours. And there's
yeah.
no, like, I don't even get to tell them what I do in my
No,
business or anything like
no,
that. It's
it's
just purely
just
talking together
yeah,
and cheering
yeah,
each other up, and
yeah,
it's just a
yeah.
really lovely way to spend a couple of hours.
I think it's a brilliant. I loved it when I saw it. I think that was. I mean, I've been. I think I said to you, I've been following you for a while on um, LinkedIn, but I don't think you'd realised that I'd been
No?
following you. And I can't remember which was the post, but I know I was following you. And then when I started seeing about your networking, and I thought, oh, that's a really good idea, because another part of the Be Social that I did was social network and chat. So we
Yeah.
did it online and conversations and stuff. So there's lots of things that I've tried that have worked, then they suddenly stop working, and you think, oh, okay, I've got to re-look at how I do it. But funny as well that getting used to social media, because I have two identities basically. I've got the private person and the business person. And what I started doing, it all started with COVID. When I started to really start using social media, I was actually getting made redundant at the time, but I had to have a purpose and a focus, and I was learning how to use social media for personal use before I started using it for business. And that was another advantage that led to the teaching of it, by the way. Anyway, so I started going out for walks and getting exercise. It was all part of my healthy eating and diet and stuff like that that I was doing. And I had to have a purpose, and I'm always taking photos. Wherever I go, I will take photos, and I don't just take one or two, I take hundreds. So the B-roll was more of photos than video, but hundreds of
Oh,
it.
well, it's easy fixed. Throw a few videos in there as well.
Exactly. So I then so I started going for walks around the village, and I was taking photos of everywhere I walked. And I didn't know that what I was doing was going to end up creating something that led to quite a big following,
Hmm.
and potentially two books if I ever get around to writing it, which was it was Life in the Village during the pandemic, and then life after the pandemic.
Yeah.
And the changes that had happened in the village on the high street, and all of those events that had happened through that time. And I was sharing it in a Facebook group that was like the Village Remembered.
Yes.
And I hadn't realised so many people from the village that had moved away were, following
Um,
the story. So the
yeah.
stories were through. So it was the journey of my walk around the village, capturing the photos of the village and the changes that were happening to streets where they lived. And I was actually getting email message requests, or not email, but message requests saying, oh, could you go to this road and capture where
Oh,
I lived and stuff
lush.
like that. So it was a series that ran for about 2 or 3 years, that I was regularly taking photos and updates and changes and stuff like that. And it got
Hmm.
a real big following, and then, captured like various buildings, so like the village church and things like that. But it got a real good following, but also got the storytelling of, the purpose and the walks that I was going and what I was doing. Like, so it's like an exercise of where I was going for the walks. I had the little map plotting of where I'd gone to, and I
Nice.
got all the photos as I was going. And it was a really good, story. And so many people have said, are you going to be releasing it as a book or whatever? And I thought, oh yeah, I will do. That was obviously before I started the business and teaching
Yes.
full time.
And things like that fall by
Um,
the wayside, don't
but,
they?
but so they're still all there. I've still got it all, but I'm thinking it's probably a bit dated now and people aren't interested. But again, it leads to something that we mentioned briefly about lead magnets and what attracts people and stuff like that. And it was so funny because from that perspective I had no problem producing stuff and getting that there. But when it came to doing something for a business, that was again, it's been a real challenge trying to come up with what is this thing that will everybody want that's not being done by everybody else. And
Mm.
everybody else seems to make it so simple, and I'm thinking, where do I begin? And then I think that was where the free event then started coming, and
Yeah.
you're doing the free event. But I mean, again, if anybody's watching out there, we get told to do these things. Have you got any tips that would help people to create that irresistible thing that everybody wants?
I think, like you say, some people make it look really simple. All you need to do is this, and you will get 50,000 new followers on your newsletter. And I think that's not the truth. I think if you've got 5 million followers on Instagram, it's a hell of a lot easier to get people to sign up to to your newsletter than if you are, a normal person, let's
Yeah,
say.
yeah,
But I think for lead magnets, I've got several, and you have to promote them first of
mm,
all. That's the thing, because that's where I fall down a little bit. Is
yeah,
I don't tell people about them, so why would they sign up for them?
yeah,
Stories is a really good place for that, by the way,
yeah.
because you can put a live link on a story where you can't put them on your grid or
No,
in your
yeah,
captions. So
yeah,
stories is ideal for that. So if you can produce something that is just really, so it's simple for you to produce because you don't want to be spending all your time on it, but also is something that people will want to download. So it's just like a quick cheat sheet or a guide to how to do something, or something along those lines. Now I've got several lead magnets that are things like my latest one is a guide to trial reels, because some people don't understand what trial reels are on Instagram, and so I put a quick guide together but I haven't promoted it enough.
mm,
When I did promote it, when I first did it, I got several sign-ups for my mailing list, but I haven't promoted it enough. So yeah, to try and keep it simple,
yeah,
and just do something that's useful to people that they will want to download, that they don't, but it's got to be valuable enough for them to hand over their email address.
yeah,
So and it's again, like with the social media posting, it's a process of trial and error.
yeah,
Don't just think of one lead magnet and then go, oh, well, nobody wanted it, that's me done with lead magnets.
yeah,
Try a few and
yeah,
see what hits home, and then you can
yeah,
always tweak them and reoffer
yeah,
them. And it doesn't matter if you've got 6 or 7 that you keep churning out. It's better to have that than not have one at all.
yeah.
So trial and error, and try and think of something that's going to be really useful to your audience, but you're not giving away too much, but it's going
Yeah.
to be valuable enough for them to
Yeah,
hand over their
yeah,
email
yeah.
address.
And I think you hit that on the thing. Is that, yeah, it's the what's and the whys, but not the hows.
Exactly. So yeah, and it's really difficult. It's very difficult for me to say, oh, this is what you have to do, because again, everybody's business is different.
Different. Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, it's one of those things that you just sort of, I mean, there might be clues in your content if you can look back at your social media content and look if you've done some hints and tips,
mm,
kind of, the love
yeah,
nurturing
yeah,
posts. If you've done
yeah,
something that has 5 or 6 tips in it that went down really well, you could
yeah,
turn that into a lead magnet,
yeah.
because not everybody will have seen that piece of content. And if you can
No,
add a little bit more value to your lead magnet with those tips,
yeah,
and that could be a good place to start, just to test,
yeah.
to see what works.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you for sharing that. So, as I said, we're off piste again. Sorry about that. That's
It's all
me.
right.
So, I know in your business you're selling. God, you're selling your business. She's not selling her
No,
business. She's
no.
selling her services in her business. She's celebrating her 19th birthday in her
Yeah.
business. That's what I was going to say. So, what I would just like for you now is just to share with us what is happening this month for you, and what is your offer. What if we wanted to work with you, what could we be hoping or getting from you at this moment? And we'll put the details in the comments for this as well. So,
Yes.
and if you do want to get anything more from us, then reach us at the email address for this, the chat show, which is beinthespotlight@gmail.com. Okay, so that's beinthespotlight@gmail.com, and we will forward it on to Helen so that she can answer the questions. But sorry, yes, please do share
No,
what you've
no,
got
please
coming on.
don't worry. So yes, July is my business birthday. It was 19 years ago I started my business, so I've forgotten exactly which date it was. So I just celebrate all months, so why not? So my business birthday offer is a birthday power hour. So I offer content power hours to my clients anyway. But for this month, there's a special offer. They're usually £159. For this month, they are £119 if you book during July and August.
Yeah.
And they are an opportunity to be one-to-one on Zoom with me to answer any of your social media content, sticky bits, issues, questions. We can plan some content for you. We could talk about how to put a reel together. We could, whatever it is that's stopping you, really making the most of Instagram, we can tackle those issues in the power hour. So that's my birthday offer.
Wow.
I did mention my program earlier, which is kind of my signature program, which is a 3-month bespoke one-to-one program where I take you from wherever you are with Instagram to being much more confident, having a huge content vault of ideas to use in your business so you never run out of things to say, and a really simple strategy. So we'll go more into my glow framework and how to make that work for your business. So this isn't, there are so many Instagram programs out there which are very generic, and you have to then work out how to turn that, into useful stuff for your business. Well, this is all very one-to-one, and we talk about how to do these things for your business. And that's my program, which is called The One Way You Learn Instagram. So
That sounds really good. And I think you're right where you say as well that there is a lot of programs out there, a lot of offers, a lot of really good offers,
yeah, really
and
good.
give you a lot of good
Absolutely.
stuff.
Hmm.
But it's being able to apply what that is to your
Yeah,
specific offer.
yeah,
And a lot of it you're left to try and figure it out on yourself. And that is
yes,
hard if you don't really know. And if you aren't one of these people that takes things in straight away and, oh yeah, I've
yes,
got that, I know what to do it. Some people need 2 or 3 different ways of telling it before
yeah,
it gets it. And that and that
absolutely.
and that's the difference between teaching, as in a proper teacher teaching the subject, and somebody that teaches you a process, but they don't teach you how to apply it
Yeah,
to you. And I think unfortunately there is a lot of that out there. So the fact that you said that you've created it and it's very bespoke to that person, meeting them where they are at, is
yeah,
really, really important to reiterate,
no,
because that's not something that is offered by everybody. Not something that's offered by everybody, and I think that is, that's where people get caught out when they're on their journeys of knowing what to watch out for and stuff like that. So that's a brilliant offer. So is there one last message, because I can feel that you've got someone in the background trying to speak to
sorry.
you.
Yeah, it's because it's the summer holidays. Everybody's here. They've gone out now. Started talking in the background. I just clicked at them, um, like I would a dog. I don't know where that came from, but anyway, no, I just think, I think my final message is try not to get overwhelmed. There is an awful lot to learn about social media. There is, and if you can do that, and if you want to do that, and that's something that you enjoy, then go do it. I can teach you an awful lot about Instagram, but all you need to know is how to make it successful for your business. So there's baby steps. So be gentle with yourself and let yourself build up to a level at which you are comfortable and that you are happy and it is working for your business. Don't feel that you have to do all the things
Yeah,
all the time, because
yeah,
there are ways of making it simple and efficient,
yeah,
without doing absolutely everything.
yeah.
So that's why I work with people on a one-to-one basis, because we are all different.
Yeah, and I think
We all,
that's yeah, I think that's
yeah,
that's an important thing to remember as well. And it's like the time, not everybody's got hours every day to be doing everything on all platforms and whatever, and to be, to set yourself like the time limit. Okay, I'm going to be doing X an hour of whatever it is to do that,
Hmm.
and make sure that you stick to it and don't feel guilty about it.
No,
And
no.
and if it isn't posting every day, then again, don't beat yourself up about it.
That's
Fit
it.
the
Find your level of what
yeah,
feels
it
comfortable to be consistent.
yeah,
And if that's twice a week,
yeah,
that's brilliant.
yeah,
It's better
yeah,
than nothing.
no,
And don't
yeah.
and be kind to yourself
Yeah,
about it.
exactly. And I think that's, one of the things I know. I got stressed over, I have to be doing X, Y, and Z, and and it ends up then it's becoming the chore, not the thing. But the other thing I found as well is I do enjoy it, because recently I've been on holiday and I thought, I'm not going to post anything, I'm going to whatever. But in actual fact, I actually just enjoyed creating and looking and engaging, and not without any pressure. In actual fact,
Yeah.
it was the break was not actually from the teaching and not having all of that
Yes.
workload. So
Hmm.
I actually realized I choose to do it because I actually enjoy doing it, and it's the experiment of working out what's working and not working
Yes.
and getting it
Yeah.
right, and I
Yeah,
think that's
absolutely.
the thing, and that you enjoy doing it. And
Mhm.
if you didn't enjoy do it, you wouldn't you wouldn't do it. So,
That's the thing. If you overwhelm yourself with a plan where you have to post 5, 6 times a week and you have to do this and you have to do that, you're much more likely to fall off the rails and
mm,
it stop
yeah,
altogether.
yeah,
So, if you enjoy doing something, then that's an indicator that you are going to be able to be consistent with it.
yeah.
If you hate doing it, then maybe we need to find a different approach.
Different,
Um,
exactly,
yeah,
exactly. So,
so there's
and
no
she
hard and fast rules.
no, and she does copy as well, guys. She does the copy as well. So,
I do.
if
I
you're
do.
struggling with that method, she can help you out with the others.
Words is my thing. I love words. So yes,
And
this is my happy place.
and word is my thing, not the words,
Yes,
but what you do with
different
the
kind.
words.
I
I
like. I
I
like
take
it.
the words and do it with my thing.
I like it.
Words and words, they go
Absolutely.
together.
Yeah.
Helen, thank you so much for being a guest on Being the Spotlight today. You've been amazing, and I
Oh,
really
thank
can't wait
you.
to share your interview with the rest of the world. So,
Oh, thank you. I've really enjoyed it.
thank you.
Being the spotlight is the place to be network driven. Discuss technology. Being the spotlight is the place to be. Tech talk tips for free.